Hi everyone and welcome back to Barker-Stargazer's YouTube channel, a channel which, let's face it, focuses mainly on crochet and occasionally some other crafts. So crocheters, we are crocheting today, but today I want to focus on this. This magazine is Inside Crochet. It's available in the UK, I'm not sure about other localities. This is issue 179. So this used to be the magazine that I used all the time. I really loved it, and when I was first crocheting and trying out new stitches, new patterns, it was where I went. So I occasionally buy it now because obviously I make a lot of my own patterns. So onto what this video is all about. So what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to take patterns from the magazine and show you what I do with existing patterns, because I don't always make them exactly how they are. I do modify them, and I usually take elements of them and put them in different things, or I change up jumpers and shawls and cardigans, make them slightly different. Now obviously I'm going to have to be really careful with what I show you of these patterns because I don't have the right to publish them, but I will show you where I can how I choose to modify some of these patterns. The patterns that I do use, I will make sure to put up the author and the name of the pattern, so if you can't get your hands on this issue of Inside Crochet, you will be able to at least search the original pattern itself. So I'm going to see how many of these I can get through. There is a long pattern that I do want to use. Probably end up regretting it by the end of the video, but that's how it goes. Okay, first project, we are going to use this strawberry stitch. Now in the magazine itself, it's done as this shoulder bag, but I don't want to do that. I'm thinking what I'd like to do is like a little clutch purse instead, with a little strap. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work this little bag from the bottom up. I'm going to start with a chain stitch, and then from that chain stitch I'll start working in rounds. I'm thinking a few rounds in double crochet, then the rest in trebles. Remember, I am UK terms, so if you're US, that means you're starting in single crochets for the rounds, and then it would be onto doubles. So the top row of the little clutch bag, that'll be where I'll be putting the strawberry stitch. Now, strawberry stitch. This strawberry stitch is the same as any of the other ones I'm sure you've seen online. The base of the strawberry is created using increases, usually using the treble stitch or double stitch if you're US terms. And then the green top of the strawberry is created with decreases. This can vary depending on the look you want for the strawberry, if they're done in DCs or trebles, or single crochet and trebles, or single crochet doubles, all these different bloody terms, honestly. Just know when I speak, I normally say UK terms unless I specify I'm saying US terms. Okay, on to the second pattern I want to use from this magazine, which is going to be the long one. I want to do the fortune teller crop top, but I don't want to do it as a crop top, I want to do it as a cardigan. The crop top itself is made out of 10 granny squares, 5 for the front and 5 for the back, joined in a straight line. Now, to change mine into a cardigan, I'm going to keep the back exactly how it is on this pattern, and then for the front I'll have to create 2 arm pieces. So first things first, I've made the 9 granny squares from the pattern that I need, and then I started work on halving these granny squares down the middle so I could create an opening for a cardigan. So here is the graph of how the completed granny square looks. Now what I need to do is half this down the middle to create 2 rectangles. Each of my arm pieces will be 2 full granny squares plus a half granny square. So to create the half square, that's just what I'm going to call it, the first, well, I guess it's a row now instead of a round, which I did in yellow, was pretty easy. I just had to half the instructions. When I got to the rows that create the corners, things were a little bit more complicated because I had to create chain stitches to certain heights to be able to turn the work and make sure, well, to make sure basically that the corners actually formed. But once I had that figured out, I was able to just continue repeating this process. Obviously I can't go into the exact changes I've made without sharing the pattern for the full square, which I can't do. I'm going to say that I've only just shown up the graph and I've made sure there's like no key there that you can read, and really I'm uncertain of what I can show and can't show, so I'm just going to err on the side of caution. But if anyone would like to see a granny square halved in a future video, I can find a free granny square and show you how I would halve that one in the future. The final round of this half square was the only round I took all the way around the half square. Does that make sense? Well, I did it just so there'd be an edge that could overlap on the front of the cardigan and where I could attach some buttons as well. And here are all of the squares and half squares joined together on the seams, and there is an additional row of green stitches along the top and the bottom. Just use a slip stitch to join them. And now I've got to work on lengthening rows, and then I can start joining these strips together and working on the cuff details as well. This green row will be the only row that I take down the middle of the cardigan. From now on, all I'll be doing is lengthening the length of this cardigan with equal rows above and below this strip of granny squares. When it came to joining these finished pieces together, I chose to start on the underarm so it could give me a better indication of the gap I needed to leave at the neck, because I'm not sure I need to leave the gap at the neck as large as the pattern calls for the crop top itself. Now, I didn't record any of me making the trim around the bottom of the cardigan or around the sleeves, because quite frankly I got sick and tired of making it, and it was time to go spend some time down the woods with my kids. Third and final pattern, we are going to be making a fan using this lovely granny square, which is used in the Rose Garden cardigan. So this cardigan is made up of granny squares with these roses, and we are just going to take the square and we're going to use it on this lovely frame. So I made the center of the rose exactly how it's shown on the pattern, and as you can see it's not going to be big enough for the fan. So I'm simply going to make this longer. It's no different from the free rose patterns you see on Pinterest. It's simply a long line of stitches with some increases, and then they are rolled up together. Okay, so I've completed my rose. I've twirled it all up. I've slip stitched it together. I have used several different colours. They do look a bit darker on screen here than they actually do. Now, I'm not happy with how this back looks, so I'm going to put a green backing on the rose itself. Simply using treble stitches on the round, increasing by 8 each round, and then I will slip stitch this in place on the back of the rose and move on to the next step. So now that the rose was all completed, I needed a way to actually join it to the fan frame here. Oh, by the way, I just found these on Temu, and I've actually got 5 of them, so I'm going to be using the other 4 in a video later on this month where I'll be doing designs just for these fans. So what I did here is I did 7 double crochet in each of the petals, then I did a chain stitch when I got to the end of the petal, and I repeated that all the way around. So for the second round, I used different stitches to create different heights. So I would have an even circle in the middle of the fan to make it easier for me to connect the rose, which is already complete, to the fan. When all that was done, I simply used a darning needle, did a running stitch connecting the border I'd created here on the fan to the rose itself on the inside. And here is the final fan. I also added a little tassel to the bottom, because why not when there's already a pre-drilled hole in the in the handle. And I can honestly tell you that this fan works wonderfully because it's far too hot here in England at the moment and I need a fan. And that's it for today. Feel free to find me on any of my socials. Don't forget to subscribe if you already haven't, and I will see you guys next week. Bye YouTube.